It's Chinese New Year again, which means it's been about a year since the pandemic started. And I thought I'd give kind of a brief overview of what it's been like. Basically, Taiwan never closed. Everything has been open. Shops remain open. Bars remain open. Because the country took it seriously back when it started, way back last year. Last Chinese New Year was about when we started to hear whispers of the virus in China. And so it's been a year of a closed country. You can't really, for the most part, the airports are closed. But inside the country, everything has been open this whole time. Some of the steps that have been taken, people wear masks. It's mandatory on things like the subway, which they call the MRT here. I don't know if it's still mandatory. The rules will change from time to time, but things like going into shopping malls or as a teacher, it's always been mandatory that I need to wear a mask when I'm teaching. All the students wear masks. We use hand sanitizer when we go inside a building. We check temperatures. And all of that has really paid off. Life here is essentially normal. I'm gonna take you around and you'll see people with masks, people without masks, but mostly you're gonna see people living their lives normally, because that's what you're able to do during a pandemic when you take it seriously. So today we're gonna go on a little trip. I'm gonna take you to the city of Tainan, which is the big sister city that's close to us here in Kaohsiung, and it's got a lot of interesting history, so I'm going to show you that. I'm going to take my scooter, and can't really drive and film. I don't really have a attachment yet on my helmet, so I will get back to you when I get there. All right, it's about an hour and a half later. I made it to Tainan, as you can see. I hear fireworks off in the distance. I think there's some kind of festival happening. I'm gonna leave my scooter here, and I'm gonna go get some food. I don't know, I'm gonna walk to the old fort and decide if there's a place I want to eat food, then I'll eat food first. And if not, then I'm going to show you the fort. So basically, right now I'm in a district called Anping, and it's named after the Anping Fort, which was a Dutch fort that when they built it was called Fort Zeelandia. And the Dutch used to control Taiwan. They had it as a colony for a little while, and they controlled it from here in Tainan. I think I'm gonna stop and get some tea at 7-Eleven. Sugar-free green tea is my favorite.
这个我们要两个。
先25，好，75块，谢谢。
So the history of Taiwan can pretty much be defined in 3 parts. The first part is Taiwan was inhabited by Aboriginal people of various tribes. And only recently, we're talking less than 1,000 years ago, those thousands of years of Aboriginal life on the island were altered when you started to get Chinese immigrants coming across the sea from places like Fujian province. and they started to come over and settle here. So part one, Aboriginals, most of human history, that's all it was. More recently, the last hundreds of years, 500, 400, 600 years, Chinese people moving to the coasts and kind of pushing the Aboriginal people more into the mountains. And then in the 1600s, the Dutch came. They wanted to establish a trading post here because it was kind of a good place between China and Japan and Indonesia. The Dutch were controlling Indonesia as a colony, and so it was a good location for them here. So they came here to Tainan, which at the time was not Tainan. They built the Fort Zealandia here and basically ruled the island of Taiwan from here. And the history of that is the history of most colonial occupations. Pretty brutal rebellions now and then, getting crushed. Eventually one of them was successful, and there was a guy, in English we call him Koshinga. The Chinese name is something like Zheng Chenggong. He basically kicked out the Dutch and made Taiwan into an independent little pirate kingdom, which is a cool story, and I hope at the fort maybe there'll be something about that. They can explain it in greater detail. You know, I'm not perfect on all these details, but that's the basics. And so he kicked out the Dutch but kept Tainan as his capital, because it was basically the only urban area in all of Taiwan. And he kept Taiwan independent for a while, but eventually the Qing dynasty took Taiwan and made it a province. But they too kept Tainan as the capital. And it was only until the 1800s, I believe, that they moved the capital up to Taipei. And that's kind of when the story of the golden years of Tainan comes to a close. We're getting closer to the old city. We might actually be there already. I don't know. This area is the old city of Tainan, sort of where the city used to be in the pre-industrial age. There's definitely a different feeling. And there's also a lot of, you know, we're starting to get into kind of the tourist area around the fort. We might see it soon. Dome Orange Humanistic Stronghold. Gotta love the names. Wonder how old this temple is. Wow, check those out. Wow. You know, I think the fort is that way, but I want to go this way. I don't know. Maybe the fort is this way. We'll find out. I was just handed a little snack. I don't really like snack food, but this is really good. Maybe I'm just hungry. Wow. So, this is probably a good time to remind everyone that I'm filming this during the COVID-19 pandemic, which gives you a sense for just how well Taiwan has handled everything. Things like this are not a problem at all. Look at all those people. Ah, I think I found the fort. Yep. Yep. This is definitely it. Oh, is it closed? This entrance is shut, but I see people inside. Wow, there it is. Fort Zeelandia, Citadel of the Dutch. Ooh. Somebody won something. Look at this chill boy. Ooh, slightly less chill boy over there. Ah, tickets. I forgot it costs money. I got my ticket. I'm putting a mask on. I think I see everyone wearing a mask, so I'm just gonna do the same. Oh, I think we're filling out information cards. Yeah. All right, so I got that taken care of. Got myself a map. Might have some useful information on it. There we go. All right, let's see what we got here. In the early 17th century, Dutch military business alliance troops conquered current-day Anping. So I think they're talking about the Dutch East India Company. Conquered current-day Anping in 1624 and built Fort Zeelandia as a defense base. The construction was completed in 1634, so it took 10 years. In 1662, the 16th year of Emperor Yongli's reign during the Ming Dynasty, after Zhenchengong, so that's after Koxinga. After Koxinga seized Fort Zeelandia, he renamed it as Anping. Okay, so it was Koxinga, the pirate king of Taiwan, who changed the name from Zeelandia to Anping. He renamed it as Anping and turned the inner fort into government offices. The Taiwanese hence called it the Imperial City. Yeah, really. Capital of Taiwan. During the Qing Dynasty, as the Bay of Taijiang was becoming silted, Anping Township lost its importance. Ah, yeah, so that's why if you look at a map of Taiwan and around this area, you can see it looks like just total swampland because there's, I guess it used to be a harbor, but now the water is sort of mixed in with the land everywhere. Anping Township lost its importance with the Qing army demolishing Fort Zeelandia to build the Eternal Golden Castle. That sounds like an interesting story I do not know about. It was gradually abandoned. Fort Zeelandia was rebuilt after the Japanese occupation and renamed as Anping Fort. So what you're seeing here is actually the Japanese construction. Interesting. Today, the only remains from the Dutch period are the southern brick walls of the outer fort. So I'll go make note of those when I find them. The deep-rooted banyan trees have experienced countless years of change and witnessed over 300 years of ups and downs in the Bay of Taijiang. Yeah, so these banyan trees here, some of them, I guess they've been here all along. Wow, good stuff. All right, well, I'm gonna pop this into my backpack and then let's go explore. You know, on second thought, I think I'm gonna keep it out because it's got some cool stuff on it. And I kind of like reading from it. So we'll start, I guess, with this building. If you can see the VOC symbol, the symbol of the Dutch East India Company. Anytime you see that VOC symbol, that's the calling card of the Dutch East India Company. Let's see, this is the museum, it looks like. So it says here, in 1858, Taiwan was opened for foreign trade after the British-French alliance defeated the Qing. The foreign traders set up a tax office in Anping, and this European-style building was built around 1882 as the official residence of the top deputy, Montgomery. During the Japanese era, the Dutch fort was converted into a dormitory for customs officers, and the residence became a club for the tax department, and later a museum. Okay. After World War II, it was used as Anping district office, and finally as a museum. Wow. do a once around before I go inside. It's really gorgeous. You can imagine the view that would have had would be much different in the past. And certainly each period of the past would be different from the preceding one. So you can imagine what this was like during the time of the Japanese occupation, what it was like during further back the Dutch times, or during the reign of Koxinga. Each period of history, I'm sure, looking out from this building you'd see a lot of different things. Officials and soldiers and now tourists like me. Yeah, look at that. Nice little cafe downstairs. I don't know if cameras are allowed inside the museum, but if they are, I'll keep filming. And if not, then I'll hit the stop button. Looks like I have to turn it off. I'll be back. Yeah, so I couldn't resist. There were some people taking photos in there, and I usually will adopt a when in Rome kind of ideology on that. So I went ahead and filmed because I really wanted you to see that model of the fort, which is super cool. You could see the fort, you could see that there were some grounds in between the fort and the town, and the in-between grounds were used for things like there was an execution grounds, and yeah, it was really fascinating. So the town attracted, of course, Dutch and Chinese, but also Japanese traders. It was pretty cosmopolitan for its time, and it seems to me like it was the biggest and possibly the only urban area in Taiwan at the time, which is super cool. But from this fort, the Dutch put down a lot of revolts. There was one big one where, typical divide and conquer, they would use native Aboriginal allies to fight the revolting Chinese peasants. But eventually this place was taken by Koxinga. And something that was interesting that I read about in the museum there was that even though Koxinga was able to take the fort, his soldiers were not using similar equipment to the Dutch. Their cannons were just round shot instead of explosive, and most of them didn't even have muskets. They would just use traditional weapons, spears and bows and arrows and things. But people have power, and so there wasn't much that the Dutch could do against organized numbers like that. And Koxinga bears special importance to Taiwanese people today because he represents kind of a symbol of Taiwan as an independent nation. That was kind of the first time that happened, where Taiwan was united and independent. Which I don't think I need to explain too much. There's special significance today just because of everything that's going on with Taiwan and China. So Koxinga is a pretty easy hero for Taiwanese people today, as someone who stood for an independent Taiwan. So I suspect we'll see a statue of him somewhere. Let's go check out the rest of this place.
I see you go on.
So you can imagine looking out from the top level, when this place was used for military purposes, all these trees would have been cut down, and the view from up here would have been exceptional. You can see all the buildings way far off in the distance, but with all these trees out of here, it would have been an incredible view of the surrounding area. So I guess I can take this time to read some more from the little museum pamphlet. A little meta history for you, some history of the museum itself. It says, in 1930, the Japanese renovated the Dutch fort to commemorate Taiwan's 300 years of culture. The muzzle-loading cannons built by the Taiwan Naval Defense Office between 1796 and 1820 were moved to the fort as a tourist attraction. So a lot of the things that we see here are not originals, they're rebuilt on the original site to be a museum. But with a little imagination, it's not too hard to imagine what this place used to be like. Well, the first rule of adventure is climb as high as you're able. Up we go. Look at that. There's the river out there. So it says the surveillance post, the place we're in right now. A surveillance post was built in 1945 to monitor the surrounding area. In 1975, the modern surveillance tower was added. So this is a modern thing. This tower was not here traditionally, originally I should say. It just isn't a tourist place unless you've got these love locks. I'm sure any of you who've been to Europe, or I guess now any tourist destination around the world, you're gonna find these. Oh, and here comes trouble. Wow, well that was an amazing view, and now we're at the main building over here, the main building of the top level. And it says it is the Historic Memorial Hall. So this is where the commander would have been in the original fort way back. But it says that when Japan began to rule Taiwan in 1895, Fort Zeelandia was deserted and in ruins. Only the south wall of the outer fort and the north wall of the inner fort remained. The brick walls seen today were rebuilt by the Japanese in 1896. A Japanese-style residential house was built on the fort for the head of customs, and an employee dormitory was erected at the bottom of the fort. On April 30th, 1930, the official residence and dormitory were demolished and replaced by a Western-style mansion that served as an exhibition hall and reception area for the celebrations of Taiwan's cultural commemoration. So I suspect now it'll be one part gift shop and one part museum. Looks like I was right. And here's the gift shop. And there's the museum. Here's a Dutch soldier. Look at those villains. Oh, so here we've got the time scales. We've got VOC, the Koshinga, Qing, and Japanese rule. Would have been nice to see one more. Would have been nice to see the post-Japan Taiwan slice. Yeah, pretty nice. Let's go down and see if we can find some of the other things on the list. I like that. I definitely prefer it to the Titanic. It fits the atmosphere a little better. Guy's got a good voice. Oh, check this out. It's a postcard vending machine. Yeah, check it out. Well, that reminds me of Japan. Anything can be in a vending machine. Wow, take a look at that. Ah, this is the old well. Of the entire original Fort Zeelandia built by the Dutch, only some remnants of the layered bricks remain to be seen. Historical records describe the fort as 838 meters wide and more than 10.9 meters high. There were two levels. The upper level had lookouts, passageways, and compounds. The lower level had 4 circular bastions and seawater walls on the north and south to repel fire attacks. I think this is as good a place as any to say goodbye to Fort Zeelandia and go get some food and maybe see what else Tainan has in store for me today. It's getting a little late. I need to be back in Kaohsiung by dinner time, so maybe I'll do something else, but this was definitely the most important reason for me to come to Tainan today, so I hope you enjoyed it.
来参考看哈，安平的伴手礼哦。来参考看啦，后切猪肉干。来齐吧。
Interesting. It's like a crab corn dog with no breading. 你好，我要one. 谢谢。
然后吃肉饭，小朋友可以试试原味跟海苔，待会来参考一下。Hello，
谢谢。
谢谢，拜拜。
Bye bye. All right. Now I'll find a place to sit and eat. All right. I'm gonna hope this isn't too hot. Oh, that's good. That's really good. It's the sauce is some kind of like mayonnaise base, but the green stuff is seaweed flakes, and it goes so well with the crab. It's really good. Oh, that was so good. Now I have to try and find a trash can, which is not always easy. Oh, that's where I came from. We've now made it around the entire fort. Hey, that's the same thing. Oh, I got one more. I'm gonna go this way now. Oysters.
妈妈应该是玳瑁，这个是露露啦，这个是露露
Kitty.
另外一只不知道。
It looks like he's selling honey.
Honey
Wow.
Vinegar 啊，这个是 honey。
多少钱？谢谢。
200块。
2块。
对，
谢谢。
来 honey Vinegar。
Oh, there are bees everywhere.
你好。
谢谢。
来 ，hello。
Oh wow, that's really good.
Mix。
Oh, so this one is juice, this one is vinegar. So he's mixing them together. Ooh, that's good. That's very good. This is the juice, honey and juice together. Okay. Oh, that's really good.
Very good.
Yeah. The juice and the honey together. Oh, it's hot.
烫。
热的。
热的。
Okay. So now I'm gonna try the hot one. 我住在高雄。
我高雄。
高雄人。
高雄哪里？
盐城。
盐城区，盐城区。
盐城。
盐城我知道 ，OK。
Yeah. 哪里？高雄的。
男子。南马 K。
Wow.
南马 K。台语叫做男子坑，男子汉。
Yeah. Wow. So he's saying he's from Kaohsiung as well. He's from Nanzi, which is a place that I know. 我是美国人。
American 我英文 English no， 不会，不太会。
No problem. It's okay.
One，OK。
Okay.
Shake.
Shake. So put it inside and shake. Okay. I'm getting the honey vinegar. Yeah, my Chinese is terrible, but I'm
Hello, Vinegar.
okay.
就是佛手香柚茶。
谢谢。
谢谢，
谢谢，拜拜。
拜拜，再见，
拜拜。再见。Yeah.
OK。
Wow, that guy was so nice. I was gonna say that my Chinese is not very good, basically nothing, but I was able to have a little talk with him, which was kind of nice. And so I got some vinegar, some honey vinegar, and he threw in some of the juice as well for free, which was really nice of him. Yeah, cool. So now I'm gonna go get some food. There was a monk. So I think I might just go back to Kaohsiung and get some food there because I know the place and I'm kind of running low on money. And in the event of something going wrong, I don't have to worry about ATMs. I like to have cash on me, so I'm just gonna go back to Kaohsiung and get some food there. Might stop and get a snack, but anyway, probably next time I turn on the camera will be in Kaohsiung.
Few inches later.
Well, it's only been a couple of seconds for you, but it's actually a few days later for me, and it's Chinese New Year, so the pier is full of people celebrating. But anyway, I didn't want to end that video where I did, so I just wanted to kind of wrap it up and say that I was going to film the scooter ride home, some interesting things along the way, but I was just too tired and too hungry. So here I am, and I hope you liked the trip to Tainan. And next time, I'm going to take you to the Foguangshan Buddha. Hopefully that video will come pretty soon. So, bye.